You're listening to Wildnilla, the show where we talk about what's going on in game and some of the news, and you might even hear what me and Brandon are doing in game. You're listening to Wildnilla, the show where we talk about what's going on in game and some of the news, and you might even hear what. Alright, everybody, welcome back to Wildnilla. We're going to start out the show. I'm going to make an announcement saying there's a possible Burning Crusade classic hints in some of the news. So I'm hoping TBC comes out. What about you?
Oh yeah. I'm ready for some TBC.
Oh yeah, I got started right at the end of classic or Wildnilla, and right after I hit 60. Of course, I had to go to 70 because TBC had came out by the time I got up there. So I started in vanilla, but I mainly got started in TBC.
And I was already started.
Yep, you had been started. You were already doing all the raids and vanilla WoW and everything.
Oh yeah.
So I'm kind of hoping TBC comes out, and I will definitely be looking forward to that. And if Wrath ever comes out, I think I'm pretty much done. That's probably all I'll play.
Oh yeah. Classic will be it. Wrath of the Lich King was the best expansion I think that they ever did.
And some people say they don't like knowing who they're going to be fighting. I liked knowing the whole time who I was going to be fighting the whole time, getting prepared for that fight. Because the whole time you knew you was going to fight the Lich King.
Oh yeah.
And you were preparing for it, and the whole time he was going around doing stuff, and it was just cool. You'd be fighting in a dungeon, all of a sudden he'd show up. You know, that was the best thing ever for me.
He didn't. It didn't matter how much you prepared for the Lich King; it was still a hard fight.
Oh yeah.
But that's long ways away from us.
Yeah, I was just talking about it. But let's go back to actually vanilla WoW, or what I like to call Wildnilla. And we're going to talk about the Horde races this time. I almost screwed up said classes. We ain't there yet. Well, we already talked about the classes somewhat.
Yeah. And then, I like the Alliance races, but when it comes to Horde races in Classic WoW, they are some of the coolest looking in the game, by far. Yeah. And that's why people are often pulled towards that faction. Even if they don't have much familiarity with the actual finer points of the game, they always are going to choose something big and nasty looking. Most people just like to play that ugly. They don't want to play a human. They don't want to play a nice looking race. People that are just wanting to jump into the game and just kill stuff, they're like, let me pick this big orc, or let me pick this big ugly guy, and we'll just go through.
They want to look nasty when they want to play nasty.
Oh yeah,
that's what they go for. And a lot of people don't want to be good. They're all goody-goody, in real life. They don't want to play a goody-goody on a game. So Horde is the class for them.
Oh yeah. And to start off the Horde, you're going to have probably one of the most iconic Horde races there is. And that's the Orcs. Orcs are they just look cool. They're mean. They have this big body. Green skin, big teeth. They're left over from the Second War after they lost. They returned to their roots as shamans. They're attempting to find a home for themselves. And, they're all about... Our orcs are just all about strength and honor through fighting. Their culture is just a constant reminder of those values. Throughout the whole game you're playing, they're constantly reminding you, for valor, for honor. But it's for the Horde. And they're completely Horde.
Now, orcs, they generally favor physical combat and they distrust magic.
True. They don't like magic because of the fell magic that happened, and you'll learn about all that through lore. He's true, they don't trust magic.
Right. So, what are their racials?
Oh,
talk about that.
Let's see. Well, orcs, of course, with the physical combat, they have an axe specialization. And here we go with those skills again. Axes is a skill. It's increased by 5 for two-handed and one-handed axes. that means it starts at 5, and it's always 5 above your level, or it's always your level plus 5.
Yeah.
So that's a great one. Axes are great for warriors. Axes are great for a lot of different classes. So you're always going to want that.
We'll get to that in here in a second.
Yeah.
And then Blood Fury increases the base melee attack power by 25% for 15 seconds, and reduces healing effects on you by 50% for 25 seconds.
So what that's pretty much telling you is, as a DPS warrior, you hit that and you just go crazy for 15 seconds, and you shouldn't need any heals because your tank should be holding aggro.
Oh yeah.
One of their next racials is Command, and that's damage dealt by hunters and warlock pets is increased by 5%.
Well, that'd be
and that good, is very nice when you're playing by yourself. PvP not so much, but to have your pets do more damage, that means they may hold aggro longer, so you can just sit back and pepper things.
Yeah, and then Hardiness. Chance to resist stun effects increased by additional 25%.
Oh yeah, that's great. Anything that decreases your chance to be stunned, that's too awesome. I mean, it's just, orcs are pretty cool. The command for which is what the hunters and the warlock pets, that's incredible bonus for late game as hunters and warlocks.
It's strong for the hunters, warlocks in PvP and solo situations, but pets are usually sacrificed or die easily in raid situations.
Yep, that is very true. And their Blood Fury, that's a great melee DPS option.
For warriors, rogues, enhancement shamans.
Yep, they just have an extremely strong set of racials for well-suited melee classes. So their racials are mainly for your melee classes that you have.
Yeah, then the available classes for orcs are Hunter, which are ranged DPS, Rogue, melee DPS, Shaman, healing, hybrid melee DPS, hybrid ranged DPS, Warlock, ranged DPS, and Warrior for tanking and melee DPS.
Yeah.
So, and just like the Alliance had Paladins, the Horde have Shamans, and the Orcs are one class that can do the Shamans.
Yeah, and Shamans are nasty.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, once again, classic orcs are strongly geared towards either pet classes or melee DPS classes. Their starting area for them is Duratar. It's just a dusty desert, focuses on scavenger creatures and some cult activity. Really just, it's a fun place to be, but you want to get to Ogrimmar as soon as possible because it's a poppin' joint.
Yeah, that's where they reside after you leave the area, and it's named after the deceased Orgrim Doomhammer, former war chief of the Horde.
Yep. And tell them about their mounts.
Oh, their mounts. Gotta go there. Now, they can purchase the following mounts from Ogonero Wolfrunner at any reputation level. Of course, all the other ones have to be exalted with Ogrimmar to purchase them. And they got swapped around over here. But Apprentice Riding, the blue, Horn of the Dire Wolf, which summons and dismisses the rideable Dire Wolf, and Horn of Timber Wolf, which summons and dismisses the rideable Timber Wolf. And then once you get Journeyman, which are the purple, or the fast ones, the epic ones is what we call it, Horn of the Swift Grey Wolf, Horn of the Swift Timber Wolf, and Horn of the Swift Brown Wolf.
Let me tell you though, just imagine, if you will, Lord of the Rings for a second, and imagine the orcs riding in on the wargs. Okay, these are big like those, except they're wolves, and they look amazing. And if I ever seen somebody riding on top of one of those, I'm running and hiding. I don't care who I am, because that thing looks like it could attack on its own. They're really, really nice, for mounts.
Oh yeah.
So, sticking along the lines of these horde classes here, or races, one of the other horde races is a Tauren. This is a big cow, guys. It really is.
Yeah, oh yeah.
It leans on being close to nature, and it worships a deity known as Earth Mother. They're a peaceful race by large, although they are extremely powerful, and reliable allies when they're enticed to fight. You really don't want to fight one of these. because they have horns and they're just big, and they're racials. As far as them being close to like Mother Earth, I guess you could say, one of their racials is a cultivation, which that increases your herbalism by a whopping 15.
Oh yeah, so if you're an herbalist, and you want to pick your flowers, this is the one to go to because your herbalism automatically is already at 15 plus whatever you're at.
And herbalism can make you so much money in WoW if you don't want to actually use them and you just want a money maker. Herbalism is a huge money maker because of the herbs.
Yeah.
They're all over the place.
And then endurance, which total health increased by 5%. 5% don't sound like very much, but it's a lot.
That'll increase over time. The higher you get your health up, the higher the 5% is going to be. And 5% in total health is great. They also have going along with their nature, they have nature resistance, and that's increased by 10%. By 10. So, you have an extra 10 on nature resistance, and that's what druids are. They're nature. And if you're fighting alliance, and a druid starts casting on you, you resist at least 10 of that anyway.
Yeah. And then we'll move on to War Stomp, which stuns up to 5 enemies within 8 yards for 2 seconds.
And let me tell you, that is one heck of a crowd control in a sticky situation.
Like PvP or PvE, that is just something you'd like to have.
Yeah. I mean, Tarn racials aren't particularly impressive to me, but as I stated earlier, herbalism is a huge moneymaker in WoW Classic.
Oh, yeah.
Huge moneymaker in WoW Classic.
Okay.
And
go ahead.
I was just going to say, overall, though, it's not an interesting spread for Tarn players, and they're likely better options are other classes, or other races but they can. I really like their racials.
As you can tell on the screen, here's the Tauren race. I'm sorry I haven't been doing very good on the video, but this is the first time for me, so bear with me. But, big cow. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You can change the face, the horns, the horn colors, and the facial hair on them. And then some of the names on them, it's pretty cool, but,
Oh, yeah. They can, you can get pretty wild with some of those guys.
Now, as you can see, if you're watching the video, some of the available classes are, it's not showing on here. Oh, there we go. I'm sorry. The Druid, which is a tank, healer, hybrid melee DPS, the hybrid range DPS. And then you got the Hunter, which is a range DPS. And then you got a Shaman, which is healer, hybrid melee DPS, and hybrid range DPS. And then you have the Warrior for tanking and melee DPS.
And those are all some pretty good things. Oh, one thing that I forgot to do that I had done in other videos, my personal, choice for the race and what class I think they're best at. Of course, going back for the Orc, to me, an Orc Warrior is going to be great, but I really like Orc Shamans. I think Orc Shamans are awesome because that's what they originally were in the first place. Was shamans. So I think an Orc Shaman looks really cool.
It's like,
and with the Taurens, Taurens to me, Druid. Tauren, it just says Druid to me.
It's all nature, so
it really just says Druid. It could also be a Shaman, but I really like the Druid, and it's one of the classes, one of the races that can be a Druid. So I really like that. With the Taurens, they begin in a place called Mulgore, and then they get funneled into Thousand Needles and the infamous Barrens. Their home city is actually Thunderbluff, but they get to go to the Barrens, and the Barrens is really fun.
When I first went to Thunderbluff, I hated that place, but now it's just once you get to know it, it's all right. But
Thunderbluff is all right. It's nothing like
Orgrimmar is just awesome.
Yeah, Ogremar is great. I don't know. They have some really cool mounts, though.
And all I know is one time I was at Thunder Bluff and I went to get on the elevator because it's up on a hill, so you got to ride an elevator up and down. One time my computer lagged right when I was getting onto the elevator, and it lagged good enough where the elevator wasn't there no more, and my tune just it died.
Oh yeah, and don't try to jump off thinking you're going to catch the elevator before it gets to the bottom, because it'll keep going down, and so will you, and you will hit the bottom, and you will die. I don't know anybody that could live off of that.
Nope.
If you slow fall, it takes like 10 years.
Yeah.
Dumb.
Oh man, it does take forever. All right. Related mounts. So the Tory could purchase the following mounts from Harb Clawhoof at any reputation level. Of course, all the other ones got to be exalted. So apprentice riding is a brown Kodo and a gray Kodo. And let me tell you, I like the Kodos. But then once you get journeyman, the great gray Kodo, the great brown Kodo, and the great white Kodo. And the Kodos look mean. I gotta give you that. I like the Kodos.
I don't even know how to explain what a Kodo looks like. It's just this four-legged big beast.
Yeah.
That almost like has a rhinoceros horn. But it's just they're huge. They're the biggest mount in the game for classic players. They're big. They're big. But this next race we're going to talk about, trolls.
Oh, this one on the screen looks awesome.
They have the coolest mounts, but we'll talk about that in a second. Trolls, they might be a bigger plot in the modern WoW, but in WoW Classic, trolls tend to play second fiddle to orcs. They're almost like an orcs go fetch, do this for you, do that for you, and that's in the storyline. That's not to say they're not important in their own right, because they tend to operate as a wiser, more subtle voice for the Horde, which it helps complement the intensity of the orcs. They have a variety of terms in terms of appearance. That's what makes them one of the more popular selections for people who are concerned about the aesthetics of the Horde race. Because some people don't like the ugliness of them, but trolls, they have many different appearances that you can use, and they're fun. They're just really fun. They have some really cool racials. One of the racials they have is damage dealt to beasts is increased by 5%. It's called Beast Slaying, of course. That's really good. You come across beasts all the time in the game, and especially in their starting area. There's a lot of beasts around them, so it's just 5% more damage on each one of them that you do. That's great.
And then Berserking, which increases your casting and attack speed by 10% to 30%. At full health, the speed increase is 10%, with a greater effect up to 30% if you're badly hurt when you activate Berserking, and it lasts 10 seconds.
That is an awesome ability.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you don't want to use it when you're 10%, but if you get to 50% or below in your health, and you pop Berserking, watch out, because you should annihilate whatever you're fighting, or at least do a lot of damage to it. It's a really nice one. One of their other specializations that they have is bow specialization. That skill in bow weapons is increased by 5. So it's the same thing with the guns for the dwarves. Trolls have the bow, and we all know what that does. That it just increases it 5 by whatever your level is. And bows are really nice. I like bows. I like bows more than guns. And troll hunters are nasty with that combination.
Yeah, and then we got regeneration, which health regeneration rate increased by 10%. 10% of total health regeneration may continue during combat.
So, I have to check numbers with that, but a certain amount of your health regeneration actually continues while you're in combat. Not all of it, but a certain amount of it, even if you're not. I believe it's even if you're not this class. Now, maybe it's only this class. And if it's just this class, that's way, way great. because that means nobody else is recovering health while they're in combat. And if you're a troll, you automatically get that. You're recovering 10% of your health while you're fighting. So I'll find out about that, and within the next podcast, I'll let you know if that's every class or if it's just this class that gets the regeneration while in combat.
Well, before we move on, have you mentioned about your last number crunch on there?
No, I didn't. Thank you for reminding me. For all you that listened to the first podcast, and if you didn't, go back and listen to it.
That we did together.
That we did together.
Episode 20.
It's really interesting. It's fun. Exciting. It talks about the alliance races and classes. A little bit about classes, but mostly races. I found out the higher your intelligence, the faster you gain skill in weapon skills or trade skills or professions or anything you're doing. The higher your intelligence, the faster you gain that skill. So if you can find a mage to give you intellect buff before you go working on professions, you have a higher chance at learning those professions and gaining skill points at that. We talked about that last episode.
Yeah.
Now their next specialization, going back to the trolls,
is throwing specialization, which skill with throwing weapons increased by 5. So not only do they have the bow specialization, but they also got throwing specialization.
Like throwing axes, and those are awesome because they would just hurl them at you.
Yeah.
It's great. Now, going back to all of their skills and all of their racial traits, Berserking is probably the star of the show here. It's an incredible asset for warriors. Casters, healers, yes, but those for PvE especially. Beast slaying, that makes leveling a lot easier because there's lots of beasts to kill, of course. And that bow specialization makes trolls a powerful hunter.
Oh yeah.
Especially in PvE, where pets are less important for damage dealing. So, when you're doing player versus enemy, which is the computer, your pets don't do a lot of damage, but it'll help them out because it increases their damage that they do, especially against beasts and things like that with your bow specialization. So you're really great, and they got some great classes.
All right, now some of the classes that trolls can be. The first one's a hunter, which is ranged DPS, and then a mage, which is also ranged DPS. And then going back to priests, like on Alliance, they're healer, hybrid, ranged DPS. And they have, the two specializations for priests. One of them is Hex of Weakness. Now, Hex of Weakness weakens the target enemy, reducing damage caused by 20 for 2 minutes.
Oh, dude, that's so great.
Oh, yeah. Weaken the enemy?
Yeah. I mean, it for 2 minutes as well?
No, caused by 20 for 2 minutes.
Yeah, it damage. It,
for 2 minutes.
It reduces the damage, and so for 2 minutes, they're just weak. There's some punks.
I gotta re-sign on, but also Shadow Guard. The caster is surrounded by shadows. When a spell, melee, or ranged attack hits the caster, the attacker will be struck for 26.7% of spell power. Shadow damage. Attackers can only be damaged once every few seconds. This damage causes no threat. 3 charges in the last 10 minutes.
Yeah, it's a really nice little buff that they can give themselves. That just you don't want to go attacking them, and especially if three charges. So if you're casting with a spell, and it says it happens every few seconds. It can happen. Well, you can only cast a spell every few seconds. So every time you cast that spell, it's going to deal 26.7% of my spell damage to you as an attacker. So if I have tons of spell power or spell damage, you're fixing to take a whole lot of damage, and that's 3 times. So you may hit me 3 times, but you're going to take a whole lot of damage, and I'm still going to be able to heal myself, and I ain't done nothing to you.
And then we go to a rogue, which is a melee DPS, and then a shaman.
The other race.
Oh yeah, the other one that can be shamans. And they're healing, hybrid melee DPS, hybrid range DPS. And then warrior, which is taking and melee DPS.
Yeah, and Troll Priest, they like he said, they've got that access to two of the great abilities, and that flexibility makes them a great choice for WoW Classic. To me, I really think Troll Priest are awesome, um, because they have those two specific skills. That makes it great for PvP. Like those are really good PvP skills.
Now they kind of start off away from the orcs, and they on the Echo Isles called Valley of Trials in Durtar. It's not too far from Orgrimmar, so but it's a little bit of ways, just like the where the orc starting place is. It's about the same amount, maybe.
Yeah,
Maybe
if you want to,
it's a little bit closer.
if you
but
want to
not
look
much.
at it in a different aspect, you could almost look at it as the trolls are kind of like the gnomes of the Alliance. They have to use the gnomes use Ironforge as their main city, where the trolls use Orgrimmar as their main city, because they don't really have a home city of their own, because orcs run the Horde, and like it says, the trolls are kind of their undermen almost. So they just use their city, but their mounts, oh dude, they're
Yeah, well, when you're around Durtar, you see a lot of little dinosaurs and stuff. So
yeah.
their mounts are raptors. Oh my goodness! Anyway, so their apprentice riding is the whistle of the violet raptor, whistle of the turquoise raptor, and whistle of the emerald raptor. And then once you hit journeyman or the epic, swift orange raptor, swift olive raptor, and a swift blue raptor.
Now, with that being said about their mounts, and you're like, oh man, I got to get exalted to be able to get a raptor with the. There is a raptor that drops out of a dungeon that we'll talk about later, that anybody can ride, Alliance or Horde, if you can get it to drop. So, and it's a pretty nice raptor. It looks really cool. So we'll talk about that later on. But just if you want a raptor and you don't want to have to get exalted, just think later on down the road you'll be able to do
Just
a raid.
keep listening, and we'll eventually talk.
Yeah,
about it.
and we'll talk about that. But this next race that we're going to talk about.
Oh, most of my tunes were this
Yes.
race, and that is the undead.
Yes, they are remnants of the invasion of the Lich King's forces that reanimated many of Azeroth's citizens as new members of his army. So once the Lich King hold began to weaken on them, a small faction of the human undead known as the Forsaken, they broke free and began their own unlives as a new group. Eventually, they found the leader in the form of the Banshee Sylvanas. So they broke free of the Lich King's hold, and they started their own little undead alliance thing. And dude, undead, they're oh my god, they look cool.
And to me, they kind of look like the undead or zombies or whatever.
Yeah, these
and that kind of brings us to the first racial.
Yeah, their first racial ability is so awesome. It's called Cannibalize. And yes, you heard me correct. Cannibalize. Hannibal Lecter style. When you activate this, it regenerates 7% of your total health every 2 seconds for 10 seconds. But the catch is, you can only use it on undead and humanoid corpses within 5 yards of you. If you move, it cancels it. Any movement, action, or damage cancels your cannibalization. But man, to just be able to kill a mob and be like, okay, cannibalize, and you eat them,
just start eating them. Yeah,
the body disappears, so there's no ground clutter, and you regain 7% of your total health for 2 seconds, over 10 seconds.
I've got a question. Did you know in China they're not allowed to have bones, so they actually put like a layer of skin over?
Oh wow, no, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I learned that a long time ago.
I did not know that.
So, yeah, they're not allowed to show bones, and I think they're not allowed to show blood or anything, but I could be wrong about that. But I know the bones, and they have to put a layer of skin over it. So I don't know if we choose the China region, if it'll do that.
Huh.
But I don't know. I'll have to try it out.
Yeah, we'll have to look at that one day, and we'll get back to you on that and let you know. One of their other abilities is shadow resistance.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so the shadow resistance is increased by 10.
That's big. That's real big.
So if you got a shadow priest chasing you down trying to kill you, you already got a shadow resistance increased by 10%.
Oh, I love any resistances they give you.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, just as a whole, they're this one's great. Underwater breathing, and I guess because you're undead, you don't have to breathe.
Yeah, who needs
So
to breathe when you're underwater?
your breath lasts 300% longer than normal. Yeah, pretty much you don't have a breath bar. I mean, if you do, it doesn't go down. Just you can swim underneath water all day and just chill, hang out.
And then the last one is Will of the Forsaken. Provides immunity to charm, fear, and sleep while active. May also be used while already afflicted by charm, fear, or sleep, and it lasts 5 seconds.
Oh yeah, it's kind of like the alliance one that they have for the humans.
Yeah.
I mean, and I guess like going back to them being undead, I guess that's why they're immune to that, is because you can't. An undead doesn't need to sleep, so you can't put them to sleep. You can't charm them because no, and they're not scared of anything because they're already dead. So that makes undead in WoW Classic have an excellent racial mechanic for both PvE and PvP. Because Cannibalize, as I said, it's an incredible leveling ability because your downtime is going to be so low because you can just keep pushing forward because you can keep healing yourself. Will of the Forsaken, strong PvP ability. It can break any CC element, and CC is crucial in settings. So you can just, you think you're going to charm me? No, too bad, can't do it. So those undead, it's really a good choice for people who are just wanting to rush in game really fast.
Okay. And then, so the available classes are Mage, which is range DPS, a Rogue, which is melee DPS, Warlock, which is range DPS, Warrior, which is tanking and melee DPS, and then here's a Priest again. And they got 2 specials, which is Touch of the Weakness. The next melee attack on a caster will cause 10.7% of spell power, shadow damage, and reduce the damage caused by an attacker by 20 for 2 minutes.
Oh yeah, that's it's really confusing. So he can, we'll explain it a little better. What that does is when this is on, 10.7% of shadow damage to the attacker, and so that's your spell power. 10.7% of it is done to the attacker in shadow damage.
Yeah,
and then
if they're hitting you, and it reduces the damage caused by them by 20.
Yeah,
for 2 minutes.
So their damage is 20 less for 2 minutes, no matter. And if you kill them, yeah, that's fine. But if you don't kill them for 2 minutes, they're just pretty much weak. Yeah, so it's hard to understand the way they work. You could
put your power word shield on, and they're not doing anything.
Oh yeah, they're not doing anything.
And your shield will last longer because they're not hitting your shield as hard because And then Devouring Plague, which afflicts the target with a disease that causes 896 shadow damage over 24 seconds. Damage caused by the Devouring Plague heals the caster.
That's so nasty in PvP.
Oh, I bet.
Just imagine, for one, you're inflicting 896 shadow damage over 24 seconds, which means in that 24 seconds, it's going to heal you for 896 health.
Yeah.
Now that can be cured because it's a disease, but if it's a mob, for instance, you're fighting, they're not going to be able to cure that because mobs really don't cure diseases. So in PvE, that's going to be great. PvP, that's just going to cause them to have to cure it, which that's just wasting of mana that they're going to have to use to cure that deal. I mean, I love Undead Priest. They're probably a strong option for them being the best thing you can play, the best class you can play as an undead. I really like the Priest. Now, an undead can also be they can be anything. A mage, a warlock, like he said. But to me, an undead, I like undead either priests or I like undead rogues, and it's just because of the cannibalizability. That's great.
Usually, I do my mage on the horde side as undead.
Undead, it's not bad for a mage.
I think I do it for warlock too.
But they begin their questing in a place called Tirisfal Glades, working against humans trying to kill them before they arrive to the capital city of Undercity. And dude, Undercity, to me, it reminds me of the elf place. Because I don't understand the Undercity.
Yeah,
I get lost.
Every time I go there, I don't know. Yeah. Just getting to Undercity is a chore itself. Then once you get down there, I'm lost. I have to talk to a guard. I don't know where nothing.
I don't know where anything. I don't. That's why I don't make undead. I mean, they have cool mounts, but I don't make them.
But they got some of the best, my favorite dungeons around in that area. But that's for another podcast.
Yes.
So, but when you think of humans, you think of horses. I think of undead as undead humans. So they have skeletal horses. So they can purchase mounts for Zachariah Post at any reputation level. All of them's got to be exalted with Undercity. Once they get apprentice, they can get a brown skeletal horse, a blue skeletal horse, or a red skeletal horse. Once they hit journeyman or epic riding, purple skeletal horse and a green skeletal horse. Oh, sorry. Let me rephrase that. Purple skeletal war horse and a green skeletal war horse.
I mean, they look really cool. Don't get me wrong. I really like their mounts.
I like their mounts. Out of all of them, the horde, the war horse is the best.
I mean, if I were to have to get exalted with them, because I don't like that place, I would just do the cloth quests over and over again, because they'll get you exalted, but it just takes forever. But you can get exalted with them with that, and go buy their mount by far, and just look at them. I mean, you can see bones, and they just look really cool. And I mean, who doesn't want to rock a punk rock spiked haircut?
Chorps Menage. Chorps Menage. That's what the name just popped up. Sorry.
But yeah, overall,
with the names.
Overall, the horde, they're just a bunch of meanies. A lot of their specializations and their abilities are just like big bully abilities. But for those people who don't want to be goody, choose a horde. Meet me on Mazriel. I'll kill you.
Now remember, the druids, Torns are only option for them on this one. So.
Yes. You can only be a druid if you're going to be a cow, and then you don't have to worry about looking like a cow because you're always in some kind of form.
Shamans are trolls and orcs.
Yes.
So remember those two. So.
I thought shamans were also Tauren.
Well, let's see. Oh, sorry. This one page said it was just those two. So
yeah.
I was misinformed.
So you can be a shaman in 3 different races, races.
Well, that's unfair because the paladins only got 2 on the.
Yep, that's very true.
Shamans are mean, but they can't be tanks like paladins.
Exactly. Paladins can heal and tank.
Yeah.
Shamans can be tanks. I see shamans tank, but they're not a true tank.
I've seen rogues tank in vanilla. So
yeah, but rogues do evasive tanking, and shamans have shields.
Yeah.
Shamans can use shields. They're pretty nasty. But, as I said before with the last one, I'm Val still playing.
Yeah.
And my gnome mage is level 26 now.
In my... I'm trying to remember. I think I'm 42 on Shrody, my druid. I'm going to bring that one up real quick. Yep, there he is, 42. Yep, that's all my other tunes, by the way. But
and we are also leveling a couple of tunes, but they're alliance. But
we're leveling. I'm leveling a priest, and he's leveling
a paladin.
And he's going to show us how a pally tank does in vanilla.
Yes.
Because everybody says Paladins don't tank very good in vanilla. Well, he's going to show them up because, yeah, when Brandon says he can do something, he does it.
Yeah. That's me. I do the looking, and I'll find the best rotation possible to hold the most threat. But that's a different podcast episode. We can't give it all away here.
Oh, yeah. But you can follow us on Mizrael.
Yes, you can. Look us up on there. We got a guild called Walnilla, and come join us. Have
Just
some
do
fun.
a /who and then Walnilla, and you'll find one of us on probably.
Yep. If you don't find us on, send us an in-game email, and we'll get you on next time that you're on. I'm playing quite a bit usually, and I don't mind helping anybody out. If you have any questions, feel free to hit us up there.
All right, later. Have fun playing games.